in an attempt to mitigate the situation, the fact that justice is equally slow and dilatory, often contradictory, usually irritating in both countries, that you have perhaps as much of a right to be irritated with us over Samjhauta as we are furious with you over the handling of 2008. But there is a critical difference, and it's one that Mr. Chari alluded to, and that is the role played in the terror that emanates from your side to us by organizations like the ISI, and probably perhaps what's called the deep establishment in your country, which is code for your army. And it's not just David Headley, through the Americans, who's given us those details, but Adrian Levy in his book has extrapolated and given the same. I mean, the names of Major Iqbal and Major Ali are not new to me. They're certainly not new to you. The fact that they arranged for training in surveillance, in counterintelligence, the fact that Major Iqbal gave £15,000 allegedly to Headley, he gave him counterfeit Indian money, he asked him specifically to reconnoiter Chabad House. Those are details, the equivalent of which do not exist in the Samjhauta case. And it's the presence of those details and the link that they make to the ISI and the army that makes many in India sit back and say, there is terror in both countries, the courts are slow, but this is an additional element that doesn't exist on the Indian side.
Yeah, no doubt, Karan, there are distinctions. And I think the most important distinction is that the crime scene of Samjhauta Express blast was India, not Pakistan. And from our viewpoint, it was far less difficult for the Indian authorities to pursue that trial in a more speedy manner as compared to Mumbai, because the crime scene in the Mumbai context or in the Mumbai attack was India, and our judicial system or our prosecution was heavily dependent on the evidence which we got from India. And you would appreciate that there are many, many gaping holes, gaps in that evidence. Having said that, I think the government of Pakistan and the prosecution have been trying to put up a strong case. You would all appreciate that the matter is sub judice. And we are leaving no stone unturned on the basis of whatever evidence we got from India to try to bring those accused to justice. So there is no question about that, about our seriousness, our sincerity of purpose. But on the other hand, people in Pakistan do ask questions as to what happened to Samjhauta Express. 42 Pakistanis were killed in that heinous crime, yet the crime scene was in India, yet we do not see any tangible, concrete progress to bring that case to a closure.
Just one little question before I come to Mr. Tiwari. You said we do our best, we are putting up a strong case. But you know, the judge has changed 6 times in 6 years. The prosecutor, original one, was murdered. There's a new one now. The court itself has switched a couple of times between Islamabad and Rawalpindi. A small fraction of the prosecution witnesses have so far been heard, none of the defense witnesses at all. Is that really the best?
Is our guest, and I do not want to be impetuous, but it is an absolute travesty that for one crime, there are 2 concurrent trials going on. This is unheard of in criminal jurisprudence. If you believe that those people who are being tried in Pakistan are prima facie guilty, why don't you extradite them and hand them over?
Well, there isn't an extradition treaty between the 2 countries, that's why.
Well, there doesn't have to be an extradition treaty. You can always trace it back to your common British ancestry. There's enough in criminal law which allows countries to not only share details of investigation, but also to hand over accused. Because, in fact, if you look at it, it's a classical case for all the accused to go free. Never does it happen that for one crime there are 2 parallel trials taking place.
But then,
so therefore,
it is 2 different countries.
So therefore, allow me to complete. What is happening in Pakistan, for the lack of a better word, is complete humbug. It's an eyewash. If you really want to build trust, I think the first step is hand over the 2611 accused so that they can be tried in a court of law where the crime was committed, where the jurisdiction of the crime is, so that the ends of justice can be met.
Mr. Tiwari, you're a delightful politician, but you're not a diplomat. I don't think the High Commissioner of any country has ever been called a humbug to his face. He's taken it with a great smile. I want to broaden it by putting this to you, Mr. Chari. The two countries, particularly if you talk about North India and Pakistan, speak the same language. They have the same food, the same customs, the same swear words, the same jokes. These days, we watch a Pakistani channel, or rather it's an Indian channel called Zindagi, which does nothing but show Pakistani serials, and it's becoming one of the most popular channels. With so much in common between us, including, as Manish calls it, the great British ancestry. Why on earth can't we get on? It's just religion that separates us, that's it. Is religion really so important that it becomes such a deep vitiating factor in our relationship with people with whom we have the same galis? Including those that refer to our mothers and sisters.
No, as far as the last part of your question about galis are concerned, being from South India, I have a different set of galis. but yes, ironically, you forgot to mention one more thing. India respected the divergence of language in 1947-1950 in our constitution when we realized that we cannot have one language. Pakistan, on the contrary, adopted Urdu. Urdu is not the language of Pakistan. It is Sindhi, Baluchi, Pakhtuni, Punjabi.
The Muhajir speak Urdu. The Muhajir speak Urdu.
So ultimately they have accepted Urdu as a language. I'm glad about it. And some of the best Urdu writers have been in India and have been here and have been Hindus. So Urdu is not a language of Muslims. Let me make it very clear here. Although I am not an expert in that language. So, but the most important element here is there are a lot of connectivities. You go back to the connectivity of language, you go back to the connectivity of food. But I would go back. Pakistan is the repository of my civilization. The Sindhu civilization starts from there. The Mohenjo-daro civilization, my civilization starts from Pakistan. How can I see that country as something being different? I don't. I relate not with just the British ancestry, but I relate to my own ancestry of 10,000 years back.
True.
So there are elements of art, there are elements of history, there are elements of culture that unites both India and Pakistan.
You know, High Commissioner, sometimes I feel it's not religion that divides us. I feel that most strongly when I say to myself that as a Punjabi I have more in common, and I'm sure many Punjabis say the same, with your Punjab than I do with my Tamil Nadu. And that's a fact of life perhaps of many people in North India. The affinities go east to west sometimes, not north to south. And therefore I get the feeling that actually the problem is that when families fall apart and break up, when brothers and sisters start turning against each other, the bitterness that it generates vitiates their prospects of living together peacefully for a very long time. It's not religion that divides us, it's the experience of partition. It's the fact that we broke up nastily, and it's engendered a poison that we simply cannot tackle. To what extent would you agree or disagree with that?
Since you are my host, I would not like to offend you in any way.
Oh no, don't be a diplomat, sir. Disagree, it's much more fun.
No, obviously, Pakistan was made on some basis, and I think we are very happy in Pakistan, and we are proud of our country, and it has over the last 6-7 decades have come a long way in many ways. Pakistan has been growing at a remarkable rate, even at one point ahead of China and India. And even today, notwithstanding our problems, our difficulties, we are growing at the rate of 4 to 5%, which reflects the inherent resilience in our people. So Pakistan has been created, is there, and will be there for all times to come.
67 years have gone by, and we are not able to sort out our problems. If anything, the distrust goes worse day by day. Do we need a third party to knock our wretched heads together? After all, I know that in our country the very thought of a third party is an anathema, but third parties have played a role between other countries that have separated to bring them together. Britain and Ireland is an example. Another example is clearly the Sri Lankans. They had a third-party involvement right through the Vikramasinghe years when he was Prime Minister. Even Israel and Palestine have had third parties that have tried to intervene. Do we need a friendly third party that we both trust to knock our heads together and say, you need to come to a sensible solution?
Karan, the implicit assumption underlying that question is that both India and Pakistan would be able to trust a third entity. First of all, I do not see that third entity anywhere on the horizon. Number two, there is a template between India and Pakistan, the Indus River Waters Treaty, which was negotiated between the two countries and which has...
The World Bank actually played a major role in that.
Sorry?
The World Bank played a major role in that.
The World Bank may have played a role, but it was bilaterally negotiated and it has held through a large number of conflicts. So therefore, what I think is, and this I had said earlier at your Kathmandu summit also, is that you need to put issues into two baskets. That when you decide not to talk to each other, you do not talk about those issues. And when you are talking to each other, or even during that phase of Kutti, there is a certain set of issues that you need to talk about. For example, nuclear command and control. The missile flying time between India and Pakistan is 1.5 minutes. We have absolutely no dialogue on nuclear command and control issues. Afghanistan, where a drawdown is taking place at this point in time, which is possibly most critical to the stability of South Asia. India and Pakistan need to have a dialogue on Afghanistan. Water. So therefore, if really the way forward is to evolve a certain level of trust, at the same time keeping in mind the problems that you've had or the bitterness which exists, put these issues into two separate baskets. One set of issues you will not talk about when you're not talking to each other, and the other set of issues, please keep talking about them.
High Commissioner, because you're in a minority of one, I'm going to give you the last word. But in doing so, I'm going to ask you to address a question that no one has brought up. It's one that many Indians believe is the truth in their heart, even if they don't express it publicly upfront. Is hatred of India the glue that binds Pakistan? Is it the basis on which your army gets its budget guaranteed? Is it the basis on which you turn a blind eye to what's happening in Baluchistan? And is that why the relationship is never going to improve? And is that why a third party can't help?
Absolutely not. If you observed our elections in 2003, there was consensus across the political spectrum that Pakistan needs to have a normal relationship with India. In Pakistan, India is no more an election issue. Our leaders do not make India bashing in their speeches. They do not make hate India speeches. So we are through that phase, luckily speaking, I would say. And as far as we are concerned, we would like to have a normal relationship, good neighbor relationship with India, but on the basis of mutual respect and mutual equality. That is our bottom line, and obviously it takes two to tango. If, as I said earlier, if India is prepared to talk to us, we are ready. If India is not prepared, we will wait.
You know, it certainly does take two to tango, and it's a jolly good dance, even if it's a bit energetic for us at our age. But I know you're itching, so you're going to answer my question, not one of your own making. And the problem is this: we in India are not just becoming anti-Pakistani. Mr. Chari, we in India, sadly, are in danger of becoming at times anti-Muslim.
I don't agree with this at all. Number one, we are not really anti-Pakistan, and
we just don't like them.
Believe me, we cannot become anti-Pakistan because it will be becoming anti-us. There is nothing that we have to hate in Pakistan except terrorism, which they themselves hate as much as the entire world. Therefore, it's not that. But as far as election issue is concerned, I just wanted to point out, the most important election issue during Nawaz Sharif's own campaign was good relations with India, which he mentioned ample times. and he got elected on one of these issues. Many issues would have been there. But like Bhutto used the very same election slogan. Bhutto's election slogan was Roti Kapda Makan.
All right. We are going to end the discussion on the panel at that point. I'm going to open it up now to members of the audience for a couple of questions. I know General Kadian over there is anxious to ask one. Go ahead, General Saab.
I was referring to the need for a dialogue between the two countries. That is the only way the relations can move forward. India is not averse to talking to Pakistan, but even the last August when the talks were cancelled, it was because of Pakistan's insistence that they first want to talk to the separatists. In fact, the High Commissioner did meet the separatists. Now, it is akin to somebody coming with a marriage proposal and saying that on the way I must meet the divorce lawyer. That makes the outcome predictable. So what was the need for having a talk? The dialogue, even if you ignore the Shimla agreement, must take place between the two partners. Second question, if you...
No, let's stick to answer.
Okay.
High Commissioner, do you want to answer that quickly? Or would you prefer to duck it?
No, I would not duck any question for that matter. You talked about our meeting with the Hurriyat leaders. That has been going on for years and years and years. So I do not think it was good to inject a new kind of rule into our bilateral engagement. Kashmir is an issue, and India recognizes that we need to resolve this issue. That is part of the composite dialogue process which our two countries have. And Jammu and Kashmir is part of that dialogue process.
Okay.
Again, for your, I would submit very respectfully to you, Jammu and Kashmir is not a territorial dispute. It's about the people of Jammu and Kashmir. So our engagement with them, as we look at it, is to produce some positivity, to also hear them out as to how this issue can be resolved. So that should be taken in a constructive and positive way, rather than making that issue I would not use
reasons. And the first reason was hatred. Right. Second, Hindu-Muslim, but basically hatred, what Karan pointed out. Second was J&K. But the one he pointed out to be most important is water. So it is not the people of J&K, it is not the J&K's territory, it is the water that flows, which is the lifeblood of Pakistani agrarian economy. But my question to you, High Commissioner, is that constituents of national power have changed. Economy, governance, diplomacy, technology, and military is, of course, one of them, but not that very strong as it used to be earlier. In Pakistan, the defense, the army element has remained predominant at the cost of others. Opposite is the case in India. Now, do you think that there is a chance of this equation changing in Pakistan?
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's leave it at that. Is a question in itself. A quick answer, High Commissioner. Please don't feel compelled to give long ones, because there are many people asking questions, and I suspect most of them are targeted at you.
No, our democracy is taking roots, and I think people who visit Pakistan, they come back with a very pleasant surprise at how our society is really growing. Our civil society is very strong. Our media is one of the robust, I think, in the world. And the advocacy groups, the way they are doing. So democracy is not about elections. You would agree with me, it's about the mindset. And I think the people of Pakistan are proceeding very, very well on this track. And we have no issue. As far as our army is concerned, we have our own dynamics, internal as well as external. But I think overall our democracy is taking roots, and we have no issue with that. So we are moving ahead consistent with our own peculiar requirements.
Mr. Dinesh Trivedi, I saw your hand up a moment ago, sir.
Who really calls the shots? Is it the army or the elected government? Because whenever peace talks progresses, there is a Kargil happening.
I think it's not really, a justified question, to be honest with you, because there is a government, political government in Pakistan, and you will have to deal with that government. It's as simple as that.
General Hasnain?
My question is addressed to High Commissioner Abdul Basit. Let me touch upon something which has not really been raised out here at all. Would you admit, High Commissioner, that in today's environment, Jammu and Kashmir is just a linked issue? You have to look at the currency of things. And would you admit that actually Pakistan got surprised on 26th of May this last year when you found stability returning to India, an iconic Prime Minister coming into power here, and in 9 months achieving something in foreign policy which you never expected perhaps? Is it that suddenly Pakistan is perceiving that the India Act has come together and that India in the next 5 to 10 years may be seen to be 10 feet tall while Pakistan will remain at 3 feet? And is it because of that that you're drawing attention of the world back to the line of control, back to Kashmir, back to the international border, through all that has been happening in the last 3 months?
High Commissioner, go ahead.
For Pakistan, you would again appreciate that it makes no sense to escalate the situation on its eastern border while we are engaged, on our eastern border and handling the terrorism issue there. So I do not see any point for Pakistan to escalate the situation along the line of control or the working boundary for that matter. So we are also very much puzzled, and some people in Pakistan would contend that it was done primarily to divert Pakistan's attention from the western border, or to weaken its resolve, or to weaken it, or to distract it from its operation on the western border. So these are different views which exist.
You see, every time India has extended a hand of friendship towards Pakistan, whether it is taking Vajpayee's bus to Pakistan, and we have seen Musharraf attack the Kargil. Now, I am just asking one question. Whenever there is any deliberation between India and Pakistan, you bring the question of Kashmir. Can't you put Kashmir in the back burner, have good relations with India in commerce and everything? Can't it happen? Every time it is Kashmir. So my question is to you, Mr. Abdul Basit. And you can also treat India as big brother or a fatherly
one
figure.
question is enough, sir. Please let the High Commissioner answer.
Thank you very much.
It's not a matter of putting any issue on the back burner for that matter. As I said earlier, it is not a territorial dispute which can be put on the back burner. It's about the people of Jammu and Kashmir. So you ask them if they can put this issue on the back burner.
Can I intervene at that point? Actually, that was precisely what President Zardari said to me in an interview in 2008 after his party had won a parliamentary majority, but before he became president. And he said that, in fact, Pakistan and India should emulate Pakistan and China, leave their border problems for a later, wiser generation to sort out. In the interim, concentrate on trade. Trade would build faith, trade would build interdependence, and that would create an environment 10 years later to sort out Kashmir. That was his exact words on air, and they've been published widely in this country. In a sense, that's what he's asking. Let him answer. Let him answer.
I'll add only one word. You talk about Kashmir, you have your own, treat Kashmir as one of the most contentious issues, we don't have any problem. But in these last 70 years...